The suburban backyard glowed under strings of fairy lights, laughter and chatter filling the warm September air. It was the adoption party Sarah Miller had dreamed of for months, a celebration to welcome 6-year-old Tommy into their little family. Balloons bobbed in the breeze. A "Welcome home, Tommy" banner fluttered above the porch, and a table groaned under cupcakes and lemonade. Guests milled around, their smiles wide as they toasted Sarah. A single mom finally expanding her heart after years of grief. But 10-year-old Lily Miller, Sarah's daughter, stood apart. Her dark eyes narrowed as she watched a woman in a crisp blazer weave through the crowd. Jane Dawson, the adoption agency worker who'd made this day possible. Lily clutched the hem of her dress, her stomach twisting. Everyone saw Jane as a saint, polished, soft-spoken, always quick with a reassuring smile for Sarah. But Lily saw something else. The way Jane's eyes flickered when no one was looking. The hushed phone calls she'd overheard. The cold edge in her voice when Sarah wasn't around. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. But Lily knew it wasn't. She'd found something. A USB Jane had dropped last week, and what was on it chilled her to the bone. As Sarah stepped forward, beaming, to sign the final adoption papers, the crowd hushed. Jane handed her the pen, her smile tight. "Here's to new beginnings," she said, voice smooth as silk. But before Sarah could sign, Lily bolted from the sidelines, her small frame trembling as she snatched the microphone from the DJ's stand. "Stop," she yelled, her voice cracking through the night. "Mom, don't do it. Jane's lying. She's not who you think she is." Gasps rippled through the guests. Sarah froze, pen in midair, as Lily's words hung like a storm cloud over the party. The fairy lights and balloons hadn't always been part of their lives. For years, it had just been Lily and her mom, Sarah, in their quiet craftsman house on Maple Street. 3 years ago, Lily's dad, a firefighter, died in a warehouse blaze, leaving Sarah a widow at 35 and Lily fatherless at 7. The house, a cozy inheritance from Sarah's grandparents, became their sanctuary, its creaky floors and big windows a comfort amid the grief. Sarah threw herself into work as a nurse, while Lily buried herself in books, detective novels, mostly, dreaming of solving mysteries like the heroes in her stories. They were a team, just the two of them, until Sarah decided it was time to grow their family again. It started 6 months ago. On a rainy April afternoon, Sarah picked Lily up from school, her hazel eyes sparkling in a way Lily hadn't seen since before Dad died. "I've got news, sweetie," she said, practically bouncing in the driver's seat. "I've applied to adopt a little boy. His name's Tommy, he's 6. And he needs a home. What do you think?" Lily's heart lifted at the idea. A little brother? She pictured teaching him how to ride a bike, reading him her favorite mysteries. "That sounds awesome, Mom," she said, grinning. Sarah squeezed her hand. "I knew you'd be on board." Then came Jane Dawson. She showed up a week later, knocking on their door with a clipboard and a warm smile. "Mrs. Miller? I'm from Bright Futures Adoption Agency," she said, her voice smooth as honey. "I'm here to help you bring Tommy home." Jane was in her 40s, with sharp cheekbones and blonde hair pulled into a neat bun. She wore tailored blazers and carried an air of authority that made Sarah trust her instantly. Over coffee, Jane painted a picture of Tommy, a shy, sweet boy who'd lost his parents in a car accident. "He's perfect for your family," she assured Sarah, her blue eyes twinkling. Lily liked her at first, too. Jane even complimented her Sherlock Holmes bookmark, saying, "You've got a sharp mind, kiddo." But the shine wore off fast. As the adoption process dragged on, home visits, paperwork, interviews, Lily started noticing things. When Sarah was around, Jane was all warmth and charm, asking about Lily's school projects or praising Sarah's dedication as a mom. But alone with Lily, she was different. One day, while Sarah was in the kitchen making tea, Jane caught Lily staring at her phone screen, a flurry of texts she quickly hid. "Mind your own business, little girl," she snapped, her voice low and icy. Lily flinched, the words stinging more than she'd admit. Another time, when Lily spilled juice on the rug, Jane grabbed her arm hard enough to leave a mark, hissing, "Clumsy brat, clean it up before your mom sees." The mask slipped, and Lily saw something dark behind those blue eyes. The doubts grew like weeds. Jane started asking Sarah odd questions about the house, its value, The mortgage. Just making sure everything's in order for Tommy's future. She'd say with a smile. Sarah, blinded by excitement, didn't question it, but Lily did. She'd read enough mysteries to know when something smelled off. Then, 3 weeks ago, she overheard Jane on the phone in their backyard, pacing under the oak tree. Yeah, it's all set, Jane whispered, her tone sharp. Once the papers are signed, we move fast. The payout's huge, trust me. Lily, hidden behind the porch railing, felt her stomach drop. Payout? What did that mean? The real bombshell came a week before the party. Jane had stopped by to drop off some forms, chatting with Sarah in the living room. As she left, a small black USB drive slipped from her purse onto the couch. Lily spotted it after Jane drove off, her curiosity buzzing. She waited until Sarah was asleep, then plugged it into her laptop. What she found made her hands shake. Files labeled Miller Property Transfer, Guardianship Docs, and a scanned photo of Tommy, not an orphan, but smiling next to Jane, who looked younger, her hair loose. A sticky note in one file read, "Post-adoption, stage the fall. Collect the estate." Lily's heart raced. This wasn't about giving Tommy a home, it was a scam. And her mom was the target. She tried to tell Sarah the next morning over breakfast. "Mom, I think Jane's lying about Tommy," she blurted, her cereal untouched. "I heard her say weird stuff on the phone, like about money and plans." Sarah frowned, brushing a strand of brown hair from her face. "Lily, honey, I know this is a big change. Are you feeling jealous about Tommy?" Lily's jaw tightened. "No, Mom, it's not that. She's hiding something, I swear." Sarah sighed, her voice gentle but firm. "Jane's been nothing but helpful. You're imagining things. Sweetie, maybe lay off those detective books for a bit." "Huh?" Lily slumped in her chair, defeated. Sarah didn't believe her. Worse, she thought Lily was the problem. For days, Lily wrestled with it. Should she let it go? Was she wrong? But the USB burned a hole in her pocket. A silent scream she couldn't ignore. Jane's visits grew more frequent. Her smiles tighter, her questions sharper. "You're lucky to have this house," she'd say to Sarah, eyeing the hardwood floors. "Worth a fortune these days." Sarah nodded, oblivious. Lily wasn't. She knew the adoption party wasn't a celebration, it was a trap. And if her mom wouldn't listen, Lily would have to stop it herself. Lily couldn't sleep that night. The USB felt like a live wire in her hand, its secrets buzzing in her mind. She sat cross-legged on her bed, her room lit only by the faint glow of her laptop screen. Posters of Nancy Drew and Sherlock Holmes stared down at her from the walls, as if urging her on. She plugged the drive in again, her breath shallow, and clicked through the files with trembling fingers. The Miller Property Transfer document was a maze of legal jargon. But a few words jumped out. Full ownership to guardian upon accidental death of primary resident. Accidental death? Lily's stomach churned. That meant her mom. She opened another file. A scanned life insurance policy for Sarah Miller, taken out just 2 months ago, with a payout of $2 million. Lily frowned. Mom never mentioned getting new insurance. The beneficiary was listed as Jane Dawson, legal guardian of minor child. Minor child? That had to be Tommy. Then there was the photo. Jane, younger, laughing with a toddler who looked exactly like Tommy. Same sandy hair and dimpled chin. A handwritten note on the margin read, Phase 1, adoption. Phase 2, eliminate Sarah. Phase 3, claim estate. Lily slammed the laptop shut, her heart pounding so loud she swore it'd wake the house. Jane wasn't just after their money, she was planning to kill her mom. The next morning, Lily stumbled downstairs, bleary-eyed and jittery. Sarah was in the kitchen, humming as she flipped pancakes. "Morning, sweetie," she chirped. "Big week ahead. Tommy's party is Friday." Lily forced a smile, her throat tight. "Yeah, great." She wanted to scream everything she'd found. But Sarah's dismissal last time stung too much. She needed more proof, something her mom couldn't ignore. Jane showed up that afternoon, her blazer crisp as ever. "Just finalizing details," she said, handing Sarah a stack of forms. As they chatted, Lily hovered nearby, pretending to read a book. Jane's purse sat unattended on the couch. Heart racing, Lily slipped over and peeked inside, a burner phone, a notepad, and a vial of clear liquid labeled sedative. She snatched the notepad, shoving it into her hoodie just as Jane turned. "What are you doing, Lily?" Jane's voice was sharp, her eyes narrowing. Just getting my book," Lily mumbled, darting upstairs. She locked her door and flipped through the pages. Dates. Times. A sketch of their house with basement stairs, circled. And a note. "Sedative in wine, fall looks natural. J&T take all." Lily's blood ran cold. They were going to drug her mom, push her down the stairs, and make it look like an accident. J&T, Jane and Tommy. She had to tell someone. But who? Her best friend Mia would believe her. But what could a kid do? The police? They'd laugh at a 10-year-old with a wild story. She needed hard evidence, and fast. The party was in 3 days. That night, Sarah worked a late shift at the hospital. Lily waited until the house was silent, then crept downstairs with her phone flashlight. Jane had left her coat on the rack during her visit. Maybe there was more. She rifled through the pockets and found a crumpled receipt. Burner phone. $15, paid cash. Proof Jane was hiding something. Then she heard a creak, footsteps on the porch. Peeking through the blinds, she saw Jane standing under the streetlight, talking on that burner phone. "Friday's the day," Jane hissed. "Once Sarah signs, we're golden. The kid's a problem, though, too nosy." Lily ducked as Jane glanced toward the house, her silhouette chillingly still. The next day, Lily skipped her after-school book club, determined to crack Jane's plan wide open. She copied the USB files onto her phone, insurance docs, the photo, everything, and hid the drive under her mattress. Then she followed Jane. Sarah had mentioned Jane was meeting the agency at a coffee shop downtown. Lily biked there, parking out of sight. Through the window, she saw Jane, not with agency folks, but with a scruffy man in a leather jacket. They leaned close, passing a thick envelope. Lily snapped photos, her hands shaky but steady enough to catch Jane slipping the envelope into her purse. Was this her partner? Another Mark, like in her mom's detective novels? She got her answer that evening. Sarah was out buying party supplies. Leaving Lily alone, the doorbell rang. Jane. Unannounced, her smile too wide. "Thought I'd check in," she said, stepping inside without asking. Lily backed up, clutching her phone. Jane's eyes flicked it. "You've been busy, haven't you?" she said, her voice low. "Snooping where you don't belong." Before Lily could react, Jane lunged, pinning her against the wall. "I saw you at the coffee shop. You little brat, what did you take from my purse?" Lily squirmed, panic rising. "Nothing, let me go." Jane's grip tightened. "If you breathe a word to your mom, or anyone, I'll make sure she never sees you again. Understand?" Tears stung Lily's eyes, but she nodded, terrified. Jane released her and stormed out, leaving Lily crumpled on the floor. Gasping, she rubbed her wrist where Jane's fingers had dug in. A bruise already blooming. Fear clawed at her, but so did something else, anger. Jane thought she'd won, thought Lily was just a scared kid who'd stay quiet. But Lily wasn't. She'd read enough mysteries to know the hero never gives up, even when the odds are stacked against them. The party was tomorrow. Jane might have the upper hand now. But Lily had the truth, and she'd use it. Her mom's life depended on it. She spent that night planning. The USB was her ace. But she needed everyone to see it, Mom, the guests, maybe even the police if she could get them there. She transferred the files to a slideshow on her phone, set to autoplay with the damning photo of Jane and Tommy as the finale. Her hands shook as she worked, but her resolve hardened. Jane wanted a perfect crime? Lily would give her a perfect reveal. Tomorrow, at the party, she'd stop this nightmare, or die trying. Friday evening arrived with a golden sunset spilling over Maple Street. The backyard buzzed with life, neighbors, coworkers, and Sarah's old high school friends mingled under the fairy lights, sipping punch and snapping photos. A small stage stood near the patio, draped with a banner that read, "Tommy's New Family," in bright blue letters. Sarah, radiant in a floral dress, flitted around, thanking guests and adjusting balloons. Tommy, a small boy with big brown eyes, clung shyly to her side, his sandy hair catching the light. To everyone else, it was a picture-perfect moment. To Lily, it was a ticking clock. She stood near the dessert table, her phone heavy in her pocket, the bruise on her wrist throbbing under her sleeve. Jane was everywhere, shaking hands, laughing, her blazer pristine as she played the role of the gracious agency worker. Every time her blue eyes met Lily's, they glinted with a silent warning. Lily's stomach twisted, but she clenched her fists. She'd spend all day preparing, uploading the USB files to her phone, rigging a Bluetooth connection to the DJ's speakers. If she could get to the microphone, she'd show everyone the truth. No more hiding. The ceremony started at 7. Sarah stepped onto the stage, Tommy's hand in hers, her smile wide enough to light the night. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her voice trembling with joy. "Tonight, Tommy becomes my son, our son." Applause erupted. Jane handed Sarah a leather folder with the adoption papers. Her smile tight as she stepped back. "Let's make it official," Sarah said, picking up a pen. The crowd hushed, all eyes on her. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. It was now or never. She darted through the guests, dodging elbows and trays of cupcakes, and leapt onto the stage. Before anyone could stop her, she snatched the microphone from its stand. "Stop," she shouted, her voice booming through the speakers. The crowd froze, a sea of confused faces staring up at her. Sarah dropped the pen, her brow furrowing. "Lily, honey, what?" "Mom, don't sign those papers," Lily cut in, breathless. "Jane's lying, she's not from the agency. She's trying to hurt you." Gasps rippled through the yard. Sarah blinked, stunned. "Sweetie, what are you talking about?" Jane stepped forward, her laugh high and forced. "Oh, Sarah, she's just nervous about the change. Kids say wild things, don't they?" She reached for Lily's arm, but Lily yanked away. "No," Lily yelled, holding the mic like a lifeline. "I have proof. She's been planning this. Tommy's not an orphan. He's her son." She fumbled with her phone, her fingers slick with sweat, and hit play. The speakers crackled. Then a slideshow blared to life on the DJ's laptop screen, projected onto the banner behind her. The first image, the insurance policy. $2 million payout circled in red. Murmurs grew louder. Next, the Miller property transfer, doc, with accidental death, highlighted. Then the photo, Jane, younger, cradling a toddler Tommy, both smiling. The crowd erupted. "What the hell?" someone shouted. Sarah's face drained of color, her eyes darting between the screen and Jane. This can't be real," she whispered. Jane's composure cracked, her smile twisting into a snarl. "Turn that off, you little liar," she hissed, lunging for Lily. But Lily dodged, holding the mic high. "I heard her on the phone," she said. "After you sign, she'd make you fall down the stairs. She's got sedatives in her purse, check it." Chaos broke loose. A neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, a burly ex-cop, grabbed Jane's purse from the table and dumped it out. A vial rolled across the grass, glinting in the light. "Sedative," he read aloud, his voice grim. The crowd surged forward, some yelling, others pulling out phones to record. Jane's eyes widened, panic overtaking her. "This is ridiculous," she cried, backing toward the stage edge. "Sarah, you know me, I'd never." But Sarah wasn't listening. She knelt beside Tommy, who'd started to cry, his small hands clutching her dress. "Mommy?" he whimpered, his voice breaking the air. "Not, Miss Sarah, Mommy." Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Tommy, is that true? Is she your mom?" Tommy nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. "She told me to call you that, said we'd live here after." The yard went dead silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Sarah stood, trembling, and faced Jane. "You used him," she said, her voice low and raw. "You used my son, my family, for what? Money?" Jane's mask shattered completely. "You're so naive," she spat, her voice venomous. "This house, that insurance, it's more than you deserve." She turned to run, shoving through the stunned guests, her heels sinking into the grass. "Stop her," Lily shouted, and Mr. Jenkins lunged, tackling Jane before she reached the gate. She thrashed, screaming curses, but he pinned her down. Sarah pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. "Yes, I need help," she said, her voice cracking. "There's a woman here, she tried to scam me. Maybe worse. She's got my address, please hurry." Lily dropped the mic, her legs wobbling as she sank to the stage. The adrenaline drained out of her, leaving only exhaustion and relief. Guests crowded around, some comforting Sarah, others staring at Jane, now handcuffed by Mr. Jenkins until the police arrived. Sirens wailed in the distance. Growing louder, Sarah rushed to Lily, pulling her into a fierce hug. "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her tears soaking Lily's hair. "I didn't listen. I should have believed you." Lily clung to her mom, her own eyes stinging. "It's okay, Mom. I just wanted you safe." As the red and blue lights flashed into the yard, Lily looked up at the banner. Tommy's name now a bittersweet lie. She'd stopped the party, but she'd saved her mom, and that was worth everything. The backyard, once alive with celebration, fell into a stunned hush as police lights bathed Maple Street in red and blue. 2 officers strode through the gate, their boots crunching on the gravel path. Mr. Jenkins handed Jane over, her wrists now bound by his old handcuffs from his cop days. She glared at Lily as they dragged her away, her polished facade replaced by a wild, furious scowl. "This isn't over, you little," she snarled. But an officer cut her off, shoving her into the squad car. Lily shivered, clutching Sarah's arm as the door slammed shut. Sarah sank onto the stage steps, Tommy still sniffling beside her. The guests hovered awkwardly, some gathering balloons and cups in a daze, others whispering in tight clusters. Lily sat next to her mom, her phone, still warm from the slideshow, slipping from her hand. "Is she gone?" she whispered. Sarah nodded, her face pale. "Yeah, baby, she's gone." Her voice cracked, and she pulled Lily close, burying her face in her daughter's dark hair. "I'm so sorry, Lily. I should have listened. I almost lost everything." Lily hugged her back, the bruise on her wrist a faint ache under her mom's grip. "It's okay, Mom. I just couldn't let her hurt you." Sarah pulled away, cupping Lily's face. "You're so brave, braver than me. How did I get so lucky?" Tears welled in her eyes, and Lily smiled weakly, wiping her own cheeks. "We're a team, right?" Sarah laughed, a shaky sound. "Always." The police took Tommy gently by the hand, explaining he'd go to a temporary home until they sorted things out. "We'll find where he belongs," an officer assured Sarah, his voice kind but firm. Tommy looked back as they led him away, his small wave breaking Sarah's heart all over again. "I wanted to help him," she murmured. Lily squeezed her hand. "You will, Mom, just not like this." By midnight, the yard was empty, the fairy lights dimmed, the banner drooping in the breeze. Inside, Sarah and Lily sat on the couch, a pizza box between them, pepperoni, Lily's favorite. The TV flickered with a muted cartoon, but neither watched. Sarah stared at the adoption folder, still open on the coffee table. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she said softly. "After your dad, I just wanted us to feel whole again." Lily leaned against her. "We already are, Mom. You and me, that's enough." The next morning brought clarity and chaos. Detectives arrived, their notepads out, asking Lily to recount everything: the USB, the phone calls, the coffee shop photos. She handed over the drive, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. Sarah filled in gaps: how Jane had pushed for the insurance policy, citing security for Tommy, how she'd suggested a risky hiking trip for their first family outing. "She said it'd bond us," Sarah said, her voice hollow. "I didn't see it." By afternoon, the truth unraveled. Jane Dawson, real name Carla Reese, was a con artist with a rap sheet across 3 states. Tommy was her son, used as bait in a string of scams targeting grieving single parents. The agency was a front. The sedative meant for Sarah's wine that very night. She'd have staged a fall within weeks. A detective explained, "Your daughter stopped a murder." Sarah gripped Lily's hand, her eyes wide. "A murder?" Days turned into weeks. Jane faced charges: fraud, attempted murder, child endangerment, while Tommy was placed with a foster family. His real story still unfolding. Sarah canceled the adoption. The folder burned in their fireplace one quiet night. "No more strangers," she told Lily, the flames reflecting in her eyes. "Just us." Lily nodded, the weight of secrets finally lifting. Life crept back to normal, but stronger. Sarah installed a security system, cameras, alarms, the works, though Lily joked it was overkill. They started a new ritual, Truth Day. Every Friday, where they'd share anything bothering them over ice cream. No more hiding, Sarah promised, and Lily held her to it. She traded her detective novels for art supplies, sketching their house, their story, finding peace in the lines. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies, Sarah turned to Lily. "You saved us. You know that? Not just from Jane, from me being too blind to see." Lily grinned, her first real smile in weeks. "That's what teams do, Mom. We watch out for each other." Sarah pulled her close, the night wrapping them in quiet hope. They'd been cracked, but not broken, and together they'd heal. The sun dipped low over Maple Street, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as Sarah and Lily sat by the lake near their house. It was a crisp fall evening, months after that chaotic night, and the air smelled of leaves and second chances. Lily sketched in her notebook a drawing of their porch, fairy lights twinkling in pencil lines, while Sarah watched, her arm around her daughter's shoulders. "We made it, didn't we?" Sarah said softly, her voice thick with gratitude. Lily nodded, leaning into her. "Yeah, Mom, we did." Their scars had faded, but the lessons lingered. Lily's courage had turned a trap into a triumph, proving that truth could shine through even the darkest lies. They'd lost a dream of a bigger family, but found something better: each other. Unbreakable and whole. As the last light faded, Sarah whispered, "You're my hero, Lily." Lily smiled, her pencil pausing. "And you're mine." This story of a girl's bravery touched hearts far beyond their quiet street. If it moved you, hit that subscribe button for more tales of hope and resilience. What would you do in Lily's shoes? Drop your thoughts below. Let's keep the conversation alive. Because in the end, love and honesty always win.